Most RAG teams are not failing because retrieval is bad. They are failing because their answer rubric is mush.
Exactly. If your rubric cannot tell a useful answer from a dangerous one, your evaluation loop becomes theater.
So, this is not about scoring style points. It is about whether your system ships answers that users can actually trust.
Right. A good answer rubric measures the behavior you need at the final answer layer. Did it answer the question? Use supported facts, avoid unsupported claims, include the right level of completeness, and follow any required format or action constraints.
That already sounds sharper than most rubrics I see, which say things like clear, accurate, helpful. Why is that such a problem?
Because vague criteria produce weak evaluation. If you ask a grader whether an answer is helpful, two smart reviewers can disagree for totally different reasons, and neither tells your team what to fix.
Give me a concrete failure case.
Say your RAG bot answers, your refund is guaranteed within 24 hours. But the source says refunds usually process in 3 to 5 business days. A vague rubric might still rate it helpful because it sounds confident and gives a direct answer. A good rubric catches the unsupported promise immediately.
So, the first job of the rubric is not taste, it is detection.
Detection and diagnosis. You want dimensions that map to real failure modes. Supportedness catches claims not grounded in retrieved content. Task completion checks whether the user's actual question was answered. Completeness checks whether key required points were omitted. Constraint following checks format, tone, policy, or tool boundaries.
And if those dimensions are missing, teams optimize the wrong thing.
Yes, the loudest model often wins. The fluent answer beats the truthful one. That power shift is dangerous because polished nonsense can look better than careful accuracy if your rubric rewards vibes.
Let's make this practical. How do you turn a nice-sounding category into something observable?
Write the rubric so a reviewer can point to evidence. Instead of accurate, say every material claim is directly supported by the provided context or is clearly labeled unknown. Instead of complete, say includes the refund window, eligibility rule, and next action link. Observable means a reviewer can mark yes or no against visible features.
So, we want checks tied to text on the page, not inner feelings in the judge's head.
Exactly. Another example, if the user asks, "Can I change my plan mid-cycle and what happens to billing?" Your rubric should require two distinct elements: whether plan changes are allowed and how prorating works. If the answer covers one and dodges the other, that is not partially magical.
What about rubrics that cram everything into one overall score from 1 to 5?
Usually too blunt. One score hides the reason for failure. A useful rubric separates dimensions first, then optionally rolls them up. If supportedness fails, that may be an automatic fail, even if the prose is perfect.
That sounds less like academic grading and more like production triage.
Good. It should be. In production, some failures are cosmetic and some are lethal. Your rubric needs to reflect that. Unsupported medical advice, wrong pricing, invented policy, or missing safety steps should not be washed out by a decent summary sentence.
Let's build one tiny rubric from scratch for a RAG use case.
Take an internal support bot answering, "How do I reset SSO for a contractor?" A practical rubric could have 4 checks. 1. Answers the exact task, not generic password reset advice. 2. Every step matches retrieved admin docs. 3. Includes the required warning that contractor resets expire after 24 hours. 4. Gives the correct escalation path if the user lacks admin rights.
That is strong, because each item points at a system weakness if it fails.
Yes. If check 2 fails, maybe retrieval missed the right doc or the model hallucinated. If check 3 fails, maybe the prompt is compressing away warnings. If check 4 fails, maybe your corpus lacks permissions guidance. The rubric becomes an engineering instrument.
Where do teams still go wrong, even after they add dimensions?
They leave the wording squishy. Terms like sufficient detail, mostly correct, or reasonable action are traps unless you define them with examples or required elements. If a reviewer cannot defend the score with quoted evidence, the rubric is still too soft.
So, examples are not optional. They anchor judgment.
Exactly.
Add pass and fail examples for each dimension. For supportedness, show one answer that cites only retrieved facts, and one that sneaks in an invented exception. For completeness, show one answer that includes all required fields, and one that misses a critical next step.
And this matters strategically, not just operationally, because the team with the better rubric learns faster.
That is the real edge. In RAG, the winner is not the team with the flashiest demo. It is the team whose rubric makes failures visible, comparable, and fixable without argument.
So if I had to compress this into one rule, measure what the answer must do, not how impressive it feels.
Yes, a good answer rubric measures observable success and observable failure. If your criteria cannot survive a pointed disagreement, they cannot steer a real system.
And once the rubric is observable, your evals stop being opinion polls.
They become leverage. A strong rubric turns RAG from guesswork into iteration. Because the best answer is not the one that sounds smart. It is the one your rubric can prove is safe, supported, and complete.